The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
If you're building or buying or selling a home, the Real Estate Crew's got news for you at the Real Estate House Party.
With attorney Rick Carter,
Real Estate House Party.
paralegal Kathy Holtshouser,
Real Estate House Party. Come in, have fun.
and comedian Tony V. Now, here's real estate attorney Rick Carter.
Welcome and thanks for joining us here on the Real Estate House Party. Before the levity starts going, I'm going to introduce John Ternullo, too, from the John and Michelle.
Sounds like you're on,
I know.
Rick Carter on steroids.
I know, I'm on steroids. You hear, am I sounding loud? Am I usually this loud?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, John.
Hello.
Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me back.
We got a lot to talk about.
When is
John.
Michelle coming on?
Whenever you guys want.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has
Will
she ever?
she?
Yeah.
She's been on once, right?
I don't know. Has she?
Maybe
Yes,
not.
she has.
Yeah.
She's
I don't
been
know
on.
if she's been on our show
I
or
believe
our
she has.
radio
Oh, I
show.
don't know.
We've been such celebrities in the network broadcasting.
Yeah, we've been all over.
Yeah, we've been all over.
I could barely get in here today.
I mean, I could barely get in. I was so busy.
Yes.
I was.
And look
Yes.
who's back.
I'm
Tony
back.
V.
Yeah.
Finally.
It seems like it's been forever.
I know.
has
It
been
has
forever.
been.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're kind of missing you, dude.
I kept
Not
texting
really.
Tony and
Yes.
thinking maybe Tony be in today because I'm on some palapa right now.
Yeah.
So,
I was in Aruba.
You were in Aruba?
Yeah, yes.
Really?
my
First time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time there.
This
This
year?
year. Yeah. I was there in December.
Who was
and I
doing the
went
show
back.
with you?
We had good shows. Me, Dan Natterman, guy from New York, and Brian Scott McFadden. It was a week, and then the week before that, there was a young woman from New York and me and Mike Vecchione, who's very funny.
Okay.
Yeah. We had
No
great
Christine
shows.
Hurley?
No, we were not. We haven't been together in about a year and a half or two there.
Oh.
Too much. It's too much of us. It's too much. boss. too much
Too much
the
show
two of
for
us
one
together.
show?
Yeah, too much show.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's great. Aruba Ray Ellen, he has a permanent comedy club in the Eagle Aruba, which
Yeah.
is about Mid-Island, right next
Was
to
it used to be the Holiday Inn or?
No, we were at the Holiday. He's been several places, but when I hooked up with him, we were at the Marriott.
Yep.
At the Stellaris, and then we went to the Holiday Inn for a couple of years, and now he's got a permanent home down at the Eagle Aruba. It's a dedicated room, and it's great.
A lot of restrictions though for him though, right?
Well, you have to wear pants?
I have to
At
wear
this-
pants for the
Yeah.
the time of the show.
whole show?
The show, yeah.
Or is it most of the show? Or
No, I mean for the time I'm on stage, but it's not like I'm changing pants in the back of the room.
Right.
I put on pants, but then immediately after the show, the
You
pants
take the
come right
pants
off.
off.
yeah, your costumes aren't probably the big part of the show. It's not like
No,
you're-
people aren't coming for my fashion sense.
Good.
What shirt?
Hey,
What shirt?
Wow.
I haven't seen him in a
I-
month.
I know.
It's
not
funny.
nice.
One night I had I think it was the shirt I wore at Fenway. It's
Oh, yeah, you look so
yeah,
handsome.
it's
the,
bright
little,
with the off collar.
Yeah.
Was it
But
pink?
it's there's this thing. Someone goes. Someone in the audience got dumped on for wearing a pink shirt, and they go, "Tony's wearing a pink shirt." I go, "It's salmon."
Salmon.
It's salmon.
They can get confusing.
They can get a little confusing.
Yeah, but who would
And I
really?
go, besides,
This is like salmon.
yeah, it's like that. A little bit more neon-y, but it's the same temperament. And I go, besides, I'm a performer. I get to let my freak flag fly.
Yeah, just like Barry Manilow.
Yeah. So the show's it's mostly New England and people down there. that
Really?
come.
It's
Yeah,
almost like you're-
it's like at Giggles. It's
You're right, I was
been
just gonna
at
say, it's
Giggles.
like a Giggles show, but in Aruba.
But it's
the
safer to
Evelyn
get
is-
to.
It's easier to get to.
Then, yeah.
Yeah, I got to
Giggles.
walk about 50 yards.
It's
from
probably
my-
easier to get out of the restaurant
Yeah,
too, right?
yeah, right.
Without
Yeah,
people
sure.
colliding and
They got
great.
they got a fine dumpster for smoking.
Good.
That's all I care about.
Yeah, good.
Although Giggles does have one of the best dumpsters
That's
around.
that's
the charm
that's,
of it.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first dumpster. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dumpster that all dumpsters are measured against.
Yeah. It's almost like Johnny Carson's couch. That if you're invited back out to the dumpster, you must be doing well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're a special breed.
But you guys didn't even want to go to the couch, right? Because I heard from somebody else that he was a little bit of a curmudgeon.
Did you ever meet Johnny Carson?
No.
Lenny Clark told us he doesn't like him at all.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
I mean, other than
He's just mad he didn't get invited to the coach.
I did get to sign my name on his childhood home.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Nebraska?
It's Nebraska, Norfolk, Nebraska.
Wow.
And they did. They used to have a comedy festival out there called the Great American Comedy Festival, and I did it 2 years in a row. And part of the tour is you get to see Johnny Carson's house.
Yeah. There's no.
You get to sign the wall.
There's no corn on that tour, is there? There's not much corn in the.
Oh, those people love
I was
their corn.
I was just thinking
Oh
about
my God! I couldn't hear more. They took us to a farm. You know, when you're a
Were
bunch
there
of,
chickens?
when you're a bunch of
Don't make me
comedians,
bring it up.
when you're a bunch of
You're
comedians
tempting me.
in a Midwestern town, you know, these people are real corn-fed people. They're salt of the
So you had
earth
to dumb it down
people.
for them, or?
Well, no, but they treat you like you're a special needs camp. You know what I mean? Keep them all together and keep them occupied. We'll take them bowling. Or we'll take them. We'll take them to a farm. You know, they'll see
doing
how a
busts
farm.
and stuff.
They pick you up. You have a host family, so you don't. You know,
You never can be
so
left
you're not
alone.
mixing with the women folk. You know,
If you ever
the
bred
whole
with any
thing.
of them.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And one of those storms came through. So, you know,
Like a tornado?
Yeah. And, you know, they didn't think anything of it. And things are shaking, and I'm freaking out. And they go, no, it's fine.
Oh, wow.
And then it's such a thing that the airport's 2 hours away. And the day I was leaving, the mayor of the town gave me a ride to the airport.
Oh, my
No.
God.
Yeah.
Was that just to make sure you got out of there?
I think they wanted me out. Yeah.
It's like Schitt's Creek.
Exactly.
It's like Schitt's
Exactly.
Creek. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. The big attraction besides the comedy festival when I was there, they were building a wind turbine somewhere, and they blocked off all the roads so that
that must have been a big
they
event.
could bring the blades, which
Yeah.
are huge.
Yeah.
It was like a parade. People lining the streets.
That is kind of cool,
I
though.
go, wow, this isn't Boston at all, is it? Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was fun, but yeah, it was. Eddie Brill used to run it, and it was a great time.
Yeah. Well, I've never been to Nebraska.
Yeah, and the Johnny Carson Museum shares a building with the Farm and Agriculture Museum. So half of it's Johnny Carson and half of it's tractors. Yeah, it's great.
I wonder if there's a correlation.
I don't know. I don't know.
What, did they run out of land out there?
They must. I don't know. I think they ran out of buildings. You know,
Maybe
there's
that's
not
it.
that many
They couldn't
big
figure
buildings.
out how to make a building right.
I remember saying, you know, we're talking to somebody, and they go, "This must be different for you." I go, "Yeah." I mean, it's yeah. I go, and this solidifies why the country's divided. Our needs are completely different. I go, you know, I'm never going to need, you know, I'm never going to need a tractor. And you people wouldn't know an elevator if you saw one. You know, so it's not going to, you know.
And we get our corn at a store.
Yeah, right.
I thought that's where it was made and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what Rick
Manufacturing.
Make it in the back.
Yeah.
I thought it was in the back, and they just.
So anyway, it's good to be home. It's
we're
you know,
happy to have you
always good.
back.
I'm glad to be back.
Really happy to have you
Yeah,
back.
it's
No,
good.
that's good.
Yeah.
John Ternullo.
We got a lot to get on.
We got
We're
a
like
lot
a boat without an oar.
I was ready for this topic too. By the way.
Oh yeah, we
You
got a
were
lot.
I did my
not.
research.
We got a
Yes.
lot.
Oh.
Yeah.
The,
So,
the NAR settlement.
Right. So just coming in, I'm in the industry, and it's just so mind-baffling to me, like what's going on.
Right.
And
It's the
how-
National Association of Realtors.
Right.
And they've decided what?
To decouple
To decouple.
Yes.
Yeah.
From whom?
commissions.
Correct.
Well, who are they? They're decoupling, meaning splitting the two different agencies.
This is coming from the DOJ wanted it to be decoupled.
Completely?
Meaning that,
Yes.
essentially what the DOJ wants is that the buyer's agent pay their own buyers and the seller's agent pays their own sellers. So that's kind of what the direction it's somewhat going.
Right.
So there's not like one pot that everybody splits now. It's every man for every person for themselves.
This is
So
where
let's
this is
back
where
up a little bit.
This is where it started. They didn't.
Let's
they
talk
didn't
about
like,
what's happening now, and then how this is going to
All
impact.
right. So what
How about
happens
that?
now is
No. Right now.
Right now, before this, you would a seller would list with John Ternullo of the Ternullo real estate team.
Great people.
Great people.
Yeah,
and what
right
they-
at the top of the list.
And then as part of their function of marketing, they're a part of multiple listing service.
Correct.
And in multiple listing service, John would put in, all right, a commission is going to be owed, will be given to a buyer. Buyer's
Buyer's
agent.
agent.
Yes, we would
Buyer's
offer a
agent.
percentage of our fee to
Yeah.
buyer's agents
To bring a buyer.
to attract buyers.
Yeah.
So now they're saying, oh, no, we don't want you doing that.
Well, part of the settlement was for, so a couple things, and that's one of the big takeaways is that they don't want sellers to offer compensation in MLS. That doesn't mean that they can't offer compensation.
Right.
They
You just can't say it.
Well, they don't want it in.
It can't be an MLS.
They don't. Part of the settlement was that they don't want it in MLS. Number one,
And
the
tell everybody what MLS is, just so that we can.
So the multiple listing service is where the agents, essentially, where we put our-
Advertise, basically, right?
Yes, and then from the MLS, that feeds all the third-party websites like Zillow and.
So the MLS is almost like an advertising venue to other agents, not to the public.
Well, it's to both. I mean, the
But
public sees it.
But they do, like, how do they get? Don't they have to have a membership to MLS?
Well, now it goes to all these third parties.
It goes to all these third-party websites.
Okay.
So when most people are searching, if they just Google houses for sale in their town,
Right.
The MLS will come up.
Yeah. So for example, whatever real estate franchise that you look at, you'll see all the listings that are on MLS. So unlike other industries, so if we list a home on MLS, our competition is there, so they can see pretty much anything that's listed there.
Right. Yeah.
It may not be exactly everything on the market if someone chooses they want to sell privately.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So you're not required to list on MLS.
Technically, no. But
Okay.
it's in the seller's best interest to list on MLS
Right.
course.
because
Okay.
That's
then
where everybody looks.
Right.
that's where they'll get the exposure.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now, we expect in July or this July
That's when this new thing is going into effect.
that sellers won't be able to put in a compensation for buyer's agents.
And the buyer's agent is the agent that brings buyers to open house or brings them to you so that they can do a private showing or whatnot. They're basically the avenue to get them the house that they want.
Correct. And so, as agents, what we were being accused of is, we were being accused of steering people, and saying, hey, if that listing isn't offering a decent, commission compensation,
Right.
we wouldn't show our buyers that property.
I see.
Which is, in every field, there's bad apples, and they came up with a bunch
can
of,
do
and
that,
they
right.
found people that have,
Right.
unfortunately, that have done that.
Right.
But these days, everything's online.
Right.
Everything's online. So,
Right.
If
so
you do your due diligence.
buyers are finding properties at the same time, literally, that we are.
Right.
So for our buyers, it's like if they want to see a house, we're not saying, oh, you don't want to see that one because we're not getting. It's
Right.
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 So-
You got to deal
Well,
with.
that goes against their code of ethics, though,
correct.
right?
Yeah,
Well,
but,
here's
but the code of ethics. Not every single real estate agent subscribes to NAR, and so not every real estate agent is a realtor.
I see.
So there is so when you're joining the NAR association, the Realtor Association, you're basically pledging to be.
But I think it's more than in there when they get their license. Like they have the duties, how to represent.
A lot of that is if they join NAR, which
Okay.
there's a lot of brokerages out there that require their agents to be part of NAR
Yeah.
because of the ethics. But legally, you do not have
You
to.
don't have to.
No,
There's nothing says that you need to belong to NAR.
that's correct.
So there's a lot of misconceptions
There's
coming
a
out.
ton.
Well, here's the first question: Who got pissed off? Who?
Somebody.
Why did they?
That's a good question.
Why did they need the government to? Because anytime government gets involved in anything, it's going to get muddled.
So, and this is my personal opinion.
Good.
So
That's what we're here about.
Yeah.
NAR is is the largest lobbying group in the country.
Right.
I mean, they're huge.
Bigger than the NRA.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
So they're
NAR, NRA, isn't that funny?
That is very fun.
so it's huge. And there's, in Massachusetts, I can tell you that and here's the thing, in every state, there's different laws and different contracts. In Massachusetts, our agreements will state, hey, here's the commission that we're charging, here's the fee, and out of that total fee, if you decide to offer a buyer's agent compensation, this is what that.
This is how much it is.
Yes.
Or what percentage it is.
So there were a couple of sellers.
So I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you for a second because that's what I do best.
Sure.
But so
She's really good at it, too.
Yeah.
So like say
He works on it.
For example, your seller has offered to pay you a 5% commission, and of that, maybe you're giving 2 or 3% to an agent coming to see you.
Correct.
But in essence, the seller, or in reality, today, the seller is paying that entire 5%.
Correct.
So do they have an issue with buyer representation?
Some sellers decided that, hey, why as a seller am I paying for a buyer's agent to work against me?
I see.
Okay.
So
Some
the
people-
buyer's agent is trying to get the best price for the house.
Correct. Now,
And
And the
seller-
seller's saying, why do I
Why
have to
do
pay
I
for
have to
Okay.
pay
now,
for that?
now I have some opinions on that, but
Right.
on the surface, there's a part of it. Sure, it makes sense. Like,
Right.
why should you? You know?
Right, right.
Now, on the flip side of it, it's like selling anything else. And agents may disagree with me. At the end of the day, the transaction should be a win-win for both parties.
Without a
Because,
doubt.
Yeah.
Any buyer that comes along to buy that house, if you're in, say, the market that we're in right now, a seller's market, sellers are ecstatic when they accept an offer. If someone's willing to pay $100,000 over asking and waive all the
Sure,
contingencies,
why shouldn't you get that 5%?
yeah, that's great. Now you
And
say,
that
well,
buyer's agent brought that client.
correct.
Right.
Now, if you look at it in the flip side, well, what if it's a buyer's market and they're really haggling? Well, if it wasn't for that buyer, that house may not sell at
right.
all.
Right.
So there's certainly value, I believe, in offering.
All right. So there's one of my first misconceptions. People saying, "Oh, this is great. We don't need a buyer's agent now."
Oh,
Well, that's
right.
that's a whole other thing. So, like, do you need a buyer's agent?
Of course you
at
do.
the end
Yes,
of,
you do.
At
Yes,
the
you
end of the day, you don't need a buyer's agent.
But it's like anything you're negotiating.
Yes,
You
it's
want
like,
someone on
should
your
you have
side.
that?
You don't need a seller's attorney. You don't need a buyer's
That's
attorney.
exactly it.
So
But
you
if
don't
you want
need to
better
have
It's like,
that.
it's like when we tell our sellers, like, hey, maybe you should paint the kitchen. Sure, they
You
can do it
don't
on
need
their own.
to do it that.
They may
Right.
not need to hire someone, but
Right.
can
Right.
they do it on their own?
Right,
Right.
Sure.
Do they know how to,
Right.
And the thing is, when it comes to buying a house, as an industry, it's tough because if you look at social media, our industry, we make things look so easy, like, hey, just sold
Right,
this, and
right,
hey, look
right.
how, because we don't show all the work that goes into it.
Right.
And all the problems that come up. I
Right,
mean,
you just see the results.
yeah,
Right.
and part of it is it's such an emotional process that we don't want to add fuel to the fire. So when there's problems that are happening behind the scenes, and Rick, you know this, there are so many times that we're putting out fires that our clients
Don't know about.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
just to keep.
Oh, they know about it, but they put it on you guys to figure it out
Well, yeah, but
on your client.
Plus, that's
so-
another reason you need a buyer's agent because, buyers, correct me if I'm wrong, are completely emotional about their purchase. I think the buyer's agent keeps all that logic back into the process.
Yeah. So one of the misconceptions and that I feel like that's happening in the media all the time is that it portrays that, hey, our job is to basically unlock the door and show them the kitchen.
Right, right.
This is the kitchen. That's
Right.
really not our
It's
job.
not going anywhere, right?
And in today's market, it's a matter of, like, we've had multiple offers where if we're representing buyers, like sometimes we may, tell our buyers, like, hey, you need to come in $80,000 over asking to get this
Yeah.
house. And they're looking to us because they want to buy the house, but,
And if they don't have a buyer's agent,
yeah, but on another house.
They don't know.
On
They
another
would
house,
know.
maybe they can come in at asking price.
and in another house, you might say, don't come in $80,000.
Well, that's the thing, and,
because
you
this
know,
house isn't going to
and so-
appreciate like some other houses.
The value in today's market for an agent is
I think
is-
it's huge.
is helping them
We are
actually
the
land the
biggest-
house.
I'm the
We're
biggest
the
advocate
biggest
of
cheerleaders
buyer's
of
agents.
buyer's agents
We've
and
done
sellers
entire
agents.
shows about it.
Oh,
About how
absolutely.
you need a buyer's
And now what they're
agent.
doing is basically like just like, so would you, like, so this is
No, you're
make
right.
your job a little or a big bit harder because now you have someone coming in, right, that doesn't have the money for a buyer's
Well,
agent?
so here's the thing. So ultimately, like, a lot of people are talking about the sellers and how it's going to reduce fees and all that stuff. Ultimately, it comes down to really a lot of, I mean, it is sellers, but it does come down to buyers because ultimately, in the past, which sometimes it doesn't make sense that you may have a buyer's agent that's been doing it for 3 weeks that gets paid the same amount of money for a buyer's agent
Right.
that's been doing it for 30 years, and you would
Well,
think
that's the same in any scenario.
it could
so.
be. In today's market, though, there very well may be, the property that the buyer likes very well may be a property that a seller decides not to offer compensation. That whole is another topic, too, because then there's a question mark of, well, everything's negotiable. So at the end of the day, most sellers care about their net. So
Right.
so just like a closing date or just like the offer amount, is a seller not going to be willing to pay a buyer's agent fee if they receive one offer that's at asking price, but another offer that's significantly over, even with a buyer's fee, included. At the end of the day,
So they'll
most
make
sellers,
more money if they do have a buyer's.
not necessarily, but they could.
But they could.
And that's part of what the DOJ wants, is the DOJ wants, they want people essentially to negotiate their fees. And they essentially believe that agents and sellers and buyers and listing agents should all negotiate their fees separately. So that's what I think we'll slowly start to see.
There's a parallel here with my business where, we negotiate our own fees when we do a job.
Yep.
And, people will undercut. I get X amount for a job. And then they go, well, this guy said he'd do it for, half that. I go, well, then, all right, get that guy, but you're going to get half the show.
Or
Right.
either that,
or
or
you're not going to get.
I'll
what
bring
you
my
get-
fee down, and
Yeah.
you're going to get a
Right.
third of a show.
A third of a
Right.
show.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You're going to get all my crappy jokes.
Right.
Right. Right.
And that's the big thing that just, because that will definitely happen.
Right.
And that's what I believe the DOJ wants, is they just want competition,
Right.
which is fine.
Yeah.
We've always had competition.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, agents have to, demonstrate their value,
Right.
number one. But also consumers need to also realize that not all agents are doing the same thing.
Right.
And
Some are
Right,
going to
some
have
are
more
working
value than
in-
others.
Yeah. working harder for you.
And you very well may get a discount agent that's charging too much.
Sure.
Right.
Right,
Because
right,
same
right.
like your field. Like if
Right.
they may be half the cost, but what if
They
they're not,
have
what
to
if they're not
come in.
funny?
Yeah, right. Well, listen, we see that all the time, and I'm sure it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
I used to open for bands and whatnot at the tents, the
Yeah.
Seltzer, North
Down the
Shore.
Cape and all that.
I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
get I had a pretty fixed rate. Then somebody else came in and they started offering less money, so they would call me for the same gig and offer less money, and I'd go, no.
Why?
No, they
Why?
go, well,
Why are you less funny now?
Right.
Right.
I did a good job the last time. They wanted me back, and
Yeah,
And yeah. that's
back-
my value.
That's my value, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they go, well, this guy's going to do it for $250. I go, okay,
Yeah.
then go ahead. I'm not doing it for that.
Right. Right.
And then you get a call. Hey, that guy was terrible. I go, yeah, I know. Yeah, he's a $250
Right,
comedian.
right.
That's
I always get amazed in our business where someone's buying $1.5 million, and I don't get it that much. Most people just when I get referred, they just go with us. But they'll say every once in a while, I get what's your fee, and I'll say the fee, and they'll say, well, this other guy is $150 less.
And you're buying $1 million house.
I'm thinking, well,
Right.
I probably have a little bit more ability, and for $150,
right.
Or
you know,
you're
nickel and
actually,
dime.
maybe
yeah,
don't
you're
eat,
insulting
don't
me.
eat. Don't I eat out at dinner once
Go
this
roll
week?
your quarters. You know
You'll
what I
be
mean?
able to afford us.
But like, so on the basic surface of this, what I can see and what I've read is it's taken like first-time home buyers out of the market.
That's going to be an issue. I feel like the biggest obstacle is for first-time home buyers.
because it did no favors to a first-time home buyer, I don't think.
No, and that's quite frankly, our system that we had last year, it wasn't the perfect system. But this isn't the perfect
But the
system.
reason
No,
it
there
worked-
had to have been something.
The
there should
reason,
have been something
the reason
in
it worked a
between.
little better because, all right, say they had to pay $25,000 as part of it. And we all know it's baked in there somehow. But on the selling price, they could finance that, right?
Correct. Well, yeah. Well, if it's included in the sales price, then
So last year, or up till July this year, it was part of the price, and it really wasn't a factor. But now, if some buyer's agent, or some seller says, well, no, I'm not paying any buyer agent fee, I think it's now, on that buyer's agent to make sure they have a form signed by the buyer that says, all right, I'm still owed whatever.
well, so part of the settlement is for now on. So, which I do believe makes sense, is that buyer agreements will now be mandatory.
Without a doubt.
Well,
So that's the
if
one
we're-
thing we were talking
if
about
we're
yesterday.
working-
Right. If we're working with the buyer, we need an agreement, which is kind of common sense anyway.
Anyway,
Yeah.
you should have an agreement.
We've
Right.
always done that.
Right.
Plenty of people didn't.
Right.
Now, here's the flip question. Who benefits from this? Who
From the
wins?
lawsuit?
Yeah, who
The
wins?
attorneys.
Outside of,
Attorneys always win, please.
They made a third of it. Think
Yes.
about it. But
so it was definitely. I do think it was definitely like a power play, because
By the NR.
no,
the
not
NAR.
not
the
by the
government.
NAR, but
By the
by
government.
the group of people who decided to sue.
Yeah.
But supposedly it's the headlines are out there saying that all these fees are going to go down.
Yeah.
And
That's
we're-
not necessarily
and
That's
where,
not
where
true.
consumers kind of need to, or sellers need to understand, is that there's going to be a lot of agents out there that says, hey, I'll list your house for a cheaper amount because you don't have to pay a buyer's agent fee. And a lot of sellers will just say, hey, that sounds great.
sounds great,
But that
yeah.
doesn't prevent a buyer from coming in and
Right.
trying to negotiate that. And,
Right.
and then the seller
Right.
needs to realize, again, at the same time, is it more important to save
X amount of dollars.
X amount of dollars on a fee, or is it more important to net the most
More
amount of
money for the house.
And
right. Sure.
I'm all for saving money. Like, I like to
We
save
all
money.
do, yeah.
Sure.
And I could completely understand how consumers want to save money. I mean, who wouldn't want to?
Right.
But for a seller, at the end of the day, usually they want to net the most amount of money.
Right.
So they may be getting misinformation even
Yes.
from other agents out there
Right.
that aren't explaining to them to say, hey, at the end of the day, you may not.
Right.
And I also feel like there's been some articles that are misleading.
The articles are completely.
Yeah. So I've read a couple
House
that.
prices are going to drastically drop.
Yeah, that's
And
that's the
so
other one.
everybody believes what they see on Facebook or believes what they read.
Well, they want to believe.
Oh,
People have
yeah.
been wanting to believe that house prices are going to be coming down for
this
years
This
now.
isn't going to
But
be
the
the answer
other-
to that,
and
right?
and
No.
this is such a and especially in New England, like, there's other parts of the country where all these homes are very similar. In New England, every single house is different. So it is so subjective going from one house to another.
Right.
It's like, all right, well, this house is bigger, but it's on a busy street.
Right.
So what's that price difference? Well, that's up to the market. At the end of the day,
Right.
what determines the price is the market.
The
Supply
market.
and demand.
Right.
Supply and demand.
Right.
It's location, it's size, it's condition, it's
And it's
financing
what
options.
someone's willing to
It's-
pay for the house.
Exactly.
Right?
And then the question begs to be asked, which politician is in the pocket of these people that push this forward? Because anytime government gets
Yeah, yeah,
involved
yeah,
in something,
yeah.
it's
But the
fucked
other,
from the
the other thing that I
beginning.
find somewhat disturbing or confusing is that it's going to take VA buyers out of the market
Well,
and
that's-
FHA buyers out of the market because the government, those are government loans,
Yeah.
will not let the buyer
So it's going to
pay a
A fee.
broker's commission
Yeah,
on
sure.
their side
So it's going to be interesting to see if changes are made.
on the FHA and the VA loans.
Yeah, because they're
They
not
can't
allowed
compete.
to if they decide
Right.
to go with that loan
They
product.
won't be able to compete.
And
Right.
so
As Kathy was saying, they're not coming to the table with a lot of money. Now all of a
No.
sudden they can't pay.
But now the VA and the FHA, the government kicks in a lot of money to those loans. Now what, right? Are they going to pay the fee?
yeah, and so that's an issue.
the other thing is,
I see a lot of issues.
I see
that
a
is- that-
ton
that
of
is-
issues.
how about
that's
the
different.
appraisal? I know we could go on and on. The appraisal.
Oh, shoot.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Wow.
We'll have
I
to
know.
do this again.
Might
No, but
have to
I
do
have
this
one
again.
more.
I have burning
Okay, I'll
questions.
save it for the next show.
Can you come back, John?
I can come back.
You sure?
Oh, my goodness.
I have burning questions.
Ooh, we got a lot of stuff
Yeah.
to follow
It's
up
not the
on.
only thing on me burning, but I do have burning
I gotta
questions.
go.
Who did you meet down at Aruba?
Oh, what did you mean?
I know. We got a lot of questions, John Ternullo. You're
Wow.
going to come back and we'll get this all figured out. Thanks for
That's the
joining us
most
here.
content.
What's that?
That's the most content
I
we've
know.
ever had.
I'm
Because
exhausted.
I'm back to keep us on
Tony might go
track.
back to Aruba. Thanks for joining us here on the Real Estate House Party. I'm hoping the four of us can get back together
We'll see
again
what
next week.
happens. I
All
hope
right?
You have a different hat.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.